Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I'll be your host. And in this episode, we're going to be telling you about our Viking ocean cruise around Italy. Very excited. I'm joined at the table by our panel of experts. Associate producer, Ryan O'Clavin.
Hello.
Client Services Manager for Dreams Unlimited Travel, Kevin Close.
Hi, everyone.
Agent for Dreams Unlimited Travel, Sean Folk.
Hi.
Folk?
How did I say his name?
Falk.
Folk. Sean Folk. Sorry about that.
Sean Folk.
Chief Executive Officer for Dreams Unlimited Travel, Peter Werner.
Hey, everybody.
And back in our production facility, we have our producer, Craig Williams.
Hello.
I think I did pretty good. I have so many more people around the table today. I think messing up only one person's name is excellent.
Pat him on the back.
Yes, please.
Hey, he's only been around for a year.
It's a better mess up than like in school and stuff.
gonna say, I
So
could've
you can go a
pronounced
lot
it
of
really
places
bad.
with it. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, this is we're going to be talking about our Viking cruise that we took in March of 2018. Very excited to get the chance to do this show for you. This
Finally.
Really, this is part one of a two-part series. In this particular episode, we're going to focus on the ship itself, give our impressions of what we thought about the ship and the food and the spaces and the staterooms. And then in part two, we'll talk about the itinerary. So we want to get started here. Craig has put together a little video of the ship. We will play that. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll get into our conversation. Take it away, Craig. Excellent. Thank you for that, Craig. The cool part was,
makes me
right,
wanna go back.
we were all sitting here talking about it and reminiscing about the great time we had, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think we all very much enjoyed that cruise.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. It was a unique experience, especially considering how many cruises we've been on. That for me was, it's hard to come back from that.
It was great fun. Did every place you turned a corner, there was somebody you knew.
That's
There was
what
105.
Well, yeah,
Really cool.
there was 100 of us, yeah.
105.
Let's tell a little bit about how this came about. Kevin and I had been on Viking River cruises before. Strongly recommend a Viking River cruise. Love it, love it, love it. And we were looking at where our next cruise experience was going to take us. And I was going through Viking's website and I found this cruise.
Unbeknownst to me, he was going through Viking's website, and he came in my office one day and he goes, I know where I want to go. I want to go here. And he handed me a piece of paper and he says, make this happen. So we did.
And so we wound up opening that up to Diz Unplugged listeners and other folks, friends and people. And we wound up with, how big was our final group?
105.
So that was.
We were the
added to
largest
fun.
group that Vikings ever booked.
And that was how much percentage of the ship, though, too, right?
There's 928 people, so we were 1/9 of the
yeah,
ship.
that's cool.
That actually brings up a good point. I real quick want to point out, for those of you who are not familiar with Viking, I'm going to give you a comparison. The Viking Sky to the Disney Magic. Viking Sky has 928 guests. The Disney Magic has 2,700 guests. The Viking Sky has 465 crew. The Disney Magic is 950 crew. Sky has, I keep having to scroll, I apologize, 464 cabins to 875 cabins. So now you might say to yourself, well, that's because the Magic is so much bigger. The length of the Magic is 984 feet, and the length of this ship was 745 feet. So I think it's...
I expected it to feel like a small ship,
I expected it to feel cramped.
and it did not.
No,
it
not at all.
felt perfect.
Yeah.
And with the number of people on there, a lot of times you felt like you had this ship to yourself.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there were no crowds. There were no.
I said to Kevin, this is what it must feel like to have your own yacht.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You guys prepped us ahead of time saying, like, oh, well, don't expect, like, the ship isn't the attraction. And, like, we got there, and Kevin and I were just saying that it felt like, 7 days on this thing, and it might not be the biggest ship in the world, but it really didn't feel like, I felt like I wanted to be on the ship more.
Exactly. Now, in contrast, when I did the Pride of America around the Hawaiian Islands, it's a Norwegian cruise line sailing, which was a wonderful trip. The Pride of America was kind of a crappy ship. It wasn't great
No
at
argument from
all.
us.
I described it as a Catskills resort off season.
Not too far off. But, of course, that itinerary going around the Hawaiian Islands was amazing. This itinerary was amazing because you got to go to ports you don't normally get to stop at when you do an average Mediterranean cruise. But as Rhino said, I found myself wishing I'd had more time on this ship because this ship was first class.
We're going to talk about the itineraries next when we do the
Next
second half
episode,
of
yeah.
this. But one of the stops that we stopped at, we were the very first cruise ship to ever stop there as a port.
Oh, really?
Which,
Crotone.
oh,
And it was the one that everybody said, well, this one needs some help.
there was a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
However, we were the
Makes
first
sense.
ones there.
But I'll tell you, the people in that town were, well, we'll talk about that next week. But
So again, let's get back to the ship. We've already kind of done the ooh-ah moment, but let's give, what was our overall impression of the ship?
When I think most people think of cruise ships, they think kind of glitzy. You walk into that main atrium, and I describe it as walking into a Las Vegas hotel. When you walk into, when I walked into the Viking Sky, it was like I was in someone's well-appointed home. The furnishings all seemed more expensive. I actually thought they should. I just yelled at him for saying actually. I think they should put price tags on the furniture. I would like to shop.
I completely agree with Kevin. I haven't done a lot of these cruises, but but it didn't feel it didn't feel cheap by any means, and I don't mean that in a like inexpensive way. I just mean like that flashy. Nothing felt gaudy. It was very like it. I compare the memory and the emotional memory I have to it to being in somebody's like really comfortable living room.
Well, I mean, when you asked the question, the words that came to mind were intimate elegance. It was very warm, very comfortable, very inviting.
Very Scandinavian.
Yeah, it had definitely had that modern Scandinavian feel to the furnishings, but it was welcoming and it was elegant.
As you walked around, did you not think, oh, I wonder how much that is? I found 2 woven leather pillows on a sofa. And I thought, I know they're going to find these if I stick them in my suitcase.
And what's interesting, you talked about when you first get on a ship. When we first got on this ship, we actually didn't walk into the atrium. You kind of came in where the crew quarters were. And you went up in an elevator and we went, okay, this is kind of a weird way to enter the ship.
Getting on and off the ship, it was like, you said it was like a private yacht because the elevators were right there.
Well, hold on. Let's back up a second. Getting on and off the ship, you know, I've been on, 50 cruises, 60 cruises now. And when you talk to me about embarkation day or debarkation day, you know, I yearn for Xanax.
You steady yourself in anticipation.
You have to steel
it.
your nerves because you know it's going to be the cattle call. So we pull up to the dock, we pull up to the port, and we get out and check our luggage, and we go in to check in.
There's nobody there.
There's no one there.
There's not a soul.
I mean, there are people there to check you in, but there was nobody there. And we went up and we gave them our information, and they took what they needed from us. And you're welcome to go on the ship. Nobody's handed me a number. And this was like 11 o'clock in the morning. I want to say
we were there all at the same time. We all arrived within minutes of each other.
And you get on the ship and your stateroom is ready. No waiting for 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. Your
I will
stateroom
say
is
this. We have to clarify that. Go ahead, Kevin.
That depends on the stateroom category you book.
Oh, because we were in suites.
Right.
Okay.
They're available at 11 a.m. The very last suite, I believe, is available at 2. So there is a staggered stateroom
All right, we'll give them that.
availability.
And that's not bad.
But my stateroom was ready, and that's really all that mattered. So we got on the ship, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
I think it looked like 10 minutes, maybe.
It was
like 15.
Between the time we pulled up to the port and the time we were in our room, it couldn't have been a half hour.
It was amazing.
And I didn't feel stressed, and I didn't feel. I felt, oh, this is lovely.
Someone helped us with our luggage to our room.
Did you get walked in by the captain? Or
No.
the head of, who was it who walked us in?
I don't know. He was a Viking.
He was a Viking. He didn't have the hat on, but he was one of the ship people. He actually walked us to our room.
And they took our carry-on luggage,
Yep.
and they promised us our luggage within an hour. Now, we were traveling people who were not in the same level of stateroom that we are, but their rooms were ready also because we said to them, you can leave your stuff in our room while we go have lunch or something. And the guy who was, I forget his name, let's say Sven. Sven told them, oh, no, your rooms
That's
are ready
racist.
too.
So racist.
That is so racist. All right, so I'm only kidding. Let's talk about staterooms in general real quick. Okay, so one of the cool things about this ship is there are no interior staterooms. Every single stateroom is an
Has a veranda.
Has either a veranda or has...
Nope. Every single stateroom
And
has a
just
veranda.
before we go any further,
Okay.
with everything that we have just described, everybody watching this is stealing themselves for the price. You are going to be stunned when we tell you what these cruises cost. You're going to be stunned.
You want to just start? You want to lead with that? You want to ruin that?
No.
right.
You don't have to, but I want to.
Are we building?
We're building.
After we talk about staterooms, we'll talk about price. How's that?
All right.
I just want
Are
to...
you trying to placate me?
No, what I want to do is I
it's
want to
okay.
I want to run down what you get in your stateroom
No,
because
he's
I think,
passive aggressively speaking to me through you.
I got to tell you, I'm not that smart. I don't think I could do that. All right. What I want to do, though, is I want to make sure people understand what you get with your stateroom. Because this, I think, is part of what I thought was great about this cruise was all that was included.
Yeah, there's a lot included.
All the staterooms include these things, and then as you go up in category, you get more things. You get to do shore excursions 60 days prior to departure. There's a luxury bedding, linens and pillows, free Wi-Fi, TV with movies on demand. There's
And good movies. This was there was a really nice selection of
Right.
of stuff in their on-demand channel. So
I agree. The regular outlets for American and European plugs plus USB ports,
tons of USB ports
which I
everywhere.
thought was so smart to do that.
In the right places too.
Where you
it
needed
wasn't
them.
like under the bathroom sink.
Yeah, exactly.
Every room gets a mini bar with soft drinks. As you go up in class, it's actually, you can get the drink package is included. So they refill the drinks in your mini bar.
And those are included. Now, we just want to point that out, that this is included, what he's talking about.
Not the drink package.
There's
part.
no
Not the drink
the
package,
drink
but
package,
everybody
but we'll
gets-
talk about the drink package in a second because I damn near fell
Refilling
over.
the drinks in your room as
Like
your
the sodas and the
well,
thing.
even alcohol and wine, as the level of stateroom increases,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes included in your room, and they refill it daily. They gave us little tiny Toblerone bars,
Mm.
and they refilled them twice a day.
Really.
Just saying.
Usual stuff. Excuse me. Security safe hair dryer. Excuse me. I'm losing my voice. Freya toiletries. How many of those did you steal?
I did. I've stopped stealing because I have so many of them now.
Not only
It
that,
just-
but these are full-size bottles.
yeah, those were big bottles.
These
yeah.
weren't little tubes. These were good-sized portions.
And 24-hour room service. So this again is what you get no matter what stateroom you book. So this is a really good amenities package for any cruise line.
They'll bring you the fanciest plate of potato chips at 2 a.m.
They will.
Yes, they will.
I will also throw in that the Wi-Fi was really good for
Wi-Fi
that ship.
was screaming.
I've been on a lot of ships and I gotten Wi-Fi packages, and even then, it is like I can get on my phone very briefly, and I got to be in the right spots, even with paying for it. But this was like
And
I
if 6 other people are on the internet, you're
Yes.
done.
Yeah,
And
no, this
especially-
worked the entire time, and because of being in Europe, like it was very important to get to be able to use my phone because I don't have an international package.
Well, even for me, which I do have the unlimited international data, but a lot of times that doesn't work when you're out at sea. I was really impressed with the speed of it, and the fact that it was free. It was included with your stateroom, and it was good internet. And I just, I was just on the Dream for 5 days, and I probably spent, I don't know, $300.
I was just going to say, on a 7-day cruise, our internet's usually $400 or $500.
Right, and I was a 5-night that I was on with the Dream, and I still spent like at least $300 on my internet.
It's shocking how much is not charged for on this ship to me. Like other cruises, no matter which you go on, there are upcharges everywhere. It was shocking to me that there weren't on this
That
ship.
many. Let's talk a little bit about price. You want to talk about the price that folks got for our sailing, or do you want to go to
Let's just talk about for our sailing because it's pretty representative, I think, of.
This was a very special itinerary. We did not design this itinerary. It's limited by Viking. In 2018, there were 4 of these. There were 2 that headed from Rome to Venice, and it was very important to me that we ended our cruise in Venice. I think Venice is the carrot at the end of the cruise, and I thought everybody's going to want to spend extra time in Venice. No one's going to want to go home. And then there are 2 that run Venice to Rome. So we did the one in March that encompassed Easter. Our cruise ended on Easter. A busy time for folks because people are on spring break. And the least expensive room I'm seeing in our group was $49.97 or $48.46 for 2 people.
under $5,000?
I want to underscore this. It was a 7-night Mediterranean cruise from Rome to Venice for $5,000 for 2 people.
Just under.
I want you to go to Royal Caribbean's website. I want you to go to Disney's website. I want you to go to Norwegian's website. I want you to go to all the cruise lines' website, and I want you to price those out. And I'm going to tell you that this ship was much nicer than any other ship right now, in my opinion, sailing the Mediterranean. It's nicer. It was nicer than the Magic.
Keep in mind, every room is a veranda stateroom. The verandas start at their smallest level, about 250 square feet, and they go up to the Explorer Suite. Like any ship, it depends on the size of your stateroom and the location of your stateroom. As it becomes more choice, your location becomes more choice, and as you get more square footage, you pay more. But a stateroom in like one of the best areas, a penthouse veranda 1, penthouse veranda 3, which is a larger stateroom. It has penthouse veranda in the word, and it was $7,400 for 2 people. So about $3,700 a person.
Now, you said for a better location. One of the things that I sort of clicked in my head was that because this ship is so small, it really isn't a bad location. We were at the very, very back of the ship, and yeah, it was a little bit of a walk.
Especially if you forgot something.
Yeah, at the end of a day when you're tired. But in general, it's a small ship. It's very easy to get around.
It doesn't feel that way, though. I never felt like, holy moly, we're in a small ship.
No, never.
I never felt like the ship was rocking.
Mm-hmm.
I know they stay, because you're traveling around Italy, I'm not sure they go out very far into the Mediterranean. I mean, I couldn't see land all the time, but I never felt like I was in a smaller ship than the Disney Magic.
I get motion sickness really bad, and I will say that I took the Dramamine just to be safe, but I was only doing the 1 tablet instead of the 2, and even then I wasn't 100%. There was a point where I was like, I don't think I actually need this, because that's how like stable the ship was.
Well,
Now, we talk about the suites. I do have to, for the sake of being honest, the Explorer Suite, which is a 2-room suite, there are several on the front of the ship and several on the back of the ship. And they even have categories because there are higher and lower floors. Our stateroom was $13,000 for 2 people. But we had about 600 square feet and a wraparound balcony around the back and the free drink package. We could have anything we wanted to drink any place we went.
The other thing, too, is we'll talk about restaurants in a minute. We could have ordered from any restaurant.
And had it
room
delivered to our
service
room.
directly from the restaurant. Real quick, we haven't heard much from Craig. Craig, what did you think of your stateroom? Because you are picky.
I am picky, and I thought it was really wonderful. So I was on this cruise with my wife, Kylie. So, I don't want to ever say...
as opposed to his girlfriend, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it obviously, it's very different from when I go on a cruise with Corey or Rhino, and 2 guys are sharing versus sharing with a woman. And... I love my wife, but sometimes it can be very difficult because...
But it's also would have been more difficult in these staterooms because unlike other cruises where it's basically 2 double beds pushed together to make a king, this is actually a king bed.
Yes, and
there's no 3rd or 4th berth in most of these rooms. Am I right?
No, but we have friends who did just tell me that they were a couple and they had twin beds.
Yeah.
You can ask.
Oh, you can ask for it. Okay.
They said some random chance they
I've
got
booked
those,
people
but-
on Viking who are not a couple, but are sharing a stateroom. And yes, I can get you separate beds.
that being said...
Too bad. I was going to put those 2 on it and make them sleep
I
together.
would have been head to toe.
Yeah.
Private pots in the same place, though.
Well, that being said, these rooms, the one that we were in, which I believe was the DV6 category, based
I'll
on my
tell you.
memory, it was so wonderful. The room was extremely spacious. Pete already raved about the TVs. Just massive TVs filled with anything you could want because we were on the itinerary that we were with the Mediterranean. It was filled with a lot of movies that take place in and around Italy. So they had Roman Holiday on there. They had The Godfather, things like that to help you get in the spirit.
One of the things they do is they do talks about where you're going to go, heritage talks, historical talks. They will show those on the TV
Yeah, that was
in
cool.
case you can't get to the actual show.
Kylie was in love with the desk in there because it actually folded up into a place to get ready and had like a full-size makeup mirror with light and plugs. I believe it was
must have
plugs
liked
on
that too.
the
I
loved it.
inside. So it just made getting ready for dinner just completely easy. And then the bathrooms are by far the best cruise line bathroom I've ever
No
They're
question.
luxurious.
No question.
The bathroom floors are heated. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, no, and it was
And we needed
very
it because it was a little
wonderful.
chilly.
Yeah.
It was March in Italy, so it was a little chilly.
We
I
do
thought that
have
was
to-
a good time to do that because we were going places where it wasn't like really a swimming vacation. It wasn't a beach vacation. And I thought if it was a little cooler, it would make touring easier.
Agreed.
We should point out a couple things before we leave staterooms that you can only book 2 people per stateroom.
Yeah, there's no staterooms that hold more than 2.
And there's a minimum age.
You have to be 16.
Right. So this makes it difficult for
And-
families to cruise.
Just so you know, I get this
Or it
question.
gives them an excuse to drop their kids off with their parents and go on a nice
Walkers,
vacation.
canes, and push wheelchairs are allowed. There are no mechanized wheelchairs or scooters allowed on the ship. And once you get on the ship, the clientele on this skew, because there's a minimum age of 16, the clientele skews older.
Well, as I described it, it was describing the clientele was gay or gray. They were
Well, that was
either-
just us.
For some of us.
no. The cruise was lousy with gays and older people. So
I do
Sometimes that
wanna
Venn diagram cross.
Say
Yes.
something about that though, because we're talking about that and how nice it is, and we've used elite, luxurious, whatever. I am lower class, and I will say that there was no point where I felt intimidated or
Then we weren't
it wasn't
trying hard enough.
stuffy, you know. I mean, whenever you'd invite me to your room, obviously, but like it was. But I don't know
So
if
we
you agree
asked
with
you to
that. Craig.
clean.
I'll be honest as far as the furniture and the ship and the room and stuff. In my opinion, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, because like IKEA can be really nice when you know how to decorate it, but it had that same feel of it. Like when you walk in an
well,
IKEA
it's Scandinavian.
showroom.
It's
I
a
was
lot
just
of
gonna say,
yeah.
it's a
it-
Scandinavian.
Nice
it's a
IKEA.
Scandinavian.
Fancy IKEA.
It's a Scandinavian
Cruise company.
cruise company. So of course that aesthetic is going to be present throughout the ship.
I thought the
but it was all
furniture was
very very high
luxurious.
quality.
Oh, yeah.
very high quality stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought the furniture was well made. There was something I was going to tell you. You were talking about that. On the ship,
uniform,
no
you
one
mean?
knows what stateroom you're in.
Right.
So there's no one's ever told, oh, you can't come in here. You're in a DV6.
Yeah.
There's none of that. There's no classification once you're on the ship.
I also thought the people were very friendly. I have not been on and the
crew was
cruise like
amazing.
that. Not even just the crew, but the actual people there. I wasn't sure if
Oh,
they
yeah.
were with us or not. And I would just, when we were doing the muster drill, this couple, I talked to them. And then another night we had two couples on either side of us, Eli and I, that ended up talking to us for a while. And so like it's just kind of crazy that we were such a big number, and yet still there was a lot of very friendly folks on the ship.
Even
as
on the
well.
mega ships, it seems that when you see someone on a mega ship, sometimes you're on the same schedule kind of thing, so you run into that same person a lot. With only 900 people, it was
Yeah.
like you ran into everybody.
Right.
So
let's move on to out of the stateroom now, and now we're in sort of what we call the common areas, the things that are for everybody. One of the things about this ship, because I keep saying smaller, it's not a small ship, but it's smaller than, say, the Disney Fantasy or, the Oasis of the Seas,
Jeez.
is that there's not giant hangout spaces. There's a lot of intimate spaces, which I really enjoyed. On the first level was what they called the living room. And we joked about this before the show started. It sounds like it's this great, cool little separate place. It's basically the center of the ship. And they put
sofas and chairs
Sofas
and a
and
library
chairs,
and lamps.
it's where
And
customer service was. There was a bar there. that
Yeah, I was
very
going to say, it
nice.
felt like a cool area where you could grab your drink after doing an excursion, which we did many of the nights. And
Because
then
it was literally
just
off the
sit-
elevator.
Yeah, and just like go right over and
Literally.
sit in a small square and have a just a little, a relax.
Yeah, this was our daytime hangout. Usually when we were getting on the ship or right before dinner, this is where it seemed like our group was kind of congregating
It's also
around.
a great meeting place.
Yeah.
Let's meet down there by that bar. Let's
Yeah.
get going. Nothing special happened there. I think at night they would that's where the piano player would be, or they might bring in entertainers from
they
local.
had a trio. It was a
Yeah.
piano, a bass, and a harp.
Yeah.
So this is where that sort of ambiance happened, but it wasn't anything.
But I will
great
say it is the
happening.
first cruise line I've done where I actually hung out in that area. I mean, I know every cruise line I go on, it's always this huge, huge, huge room, but I'm never there. Like it's just like walking and be like, wow, that's so pretty, and I walk through it, and I just walk through it every day, and might look in a shop or something if that's what it is. But this was actually like, let's sit not in our rooms or
intimate little areas where it set up little clusters where you could sit with folks and talk and enjoy each other's company.
There was one little section that had games.
Yeah, it had technically the living room had 3 different floors, and the bottom had all the seating areas, but then on the second and third part, they had smaller tables that were more intimate, and they even had electronic game tables set up where you could
those
play
are cool.
poker,
Like they have in Auntie's
cards.
Beach
It was
Shack.
very cool. It was like They didn't always work 100% of the time,
Yeah.
but when they did, it was a lot of fun.
And
to
these
be
were
able to-
free.
Yep.
These were
Yeah.
no charge to use
That's
those.
neat.
Not no charge.
There was no charge.
Shoot.
They another common space was the Explorers Lounge.
Yeah.
This was, for lack of a better word, it was a bar area.
This was the Pride Lands for our group.
It was a Pride Lands. 2 stories, really cool space. Again,
It's all like space themed and stuff, like or astrological
Right,
themed. So
right.
there was like the telescope and the
Astronomical. Not astrological. Well,
yeah, astrological. Yeah.
Astrological.
Because you were an explorer, so you would use the
Rhino was
stars
up there
to
reading
guide you.
tarot cards.
You would
throwing the
even-
runes out on the table.
That was
for
the thing.
anybody.
Did you guys go there? I assumed you went
Yeah.
there and drank.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Many times.
Well, what I will say about this too is very nice that it was a good area for us who had a group up there, but it was still kind of sectioned off into different little areas, and we like kind of absorbed some of those people into our
I would
group,
say
too,
that
you
the
know?
other people on the ship might not think we were the most willing to share that space. No.
Yeah, we did take it over every single night, and even to the point where the bartending staff there had to adjust how they normally have to work because they aren't used to having
people.
our like that many people wanting to drink all the way up until their last call.
Our group enjoys their cocktails.
Their spritzers.
Libations.
Because that drink package. Can we talk about that?
Well, before we do that, I was saying
Okay.
one of the things that was neat was there's a 2-story to that lounge, and what they did was they quickly realized, shoot, we got to serve those people upstairs, so they would put a server just on
that
upstairs.
was cool.
Yep. And even during the daytime, it was just a great place to like sit and read, and it was quiet in the day. At night, got crazy.
This is one of the few places where you can actually spend money on the ship. There's not a lot of places. There's no upcharge for the restaurants. So one of the things you do is you go to the bar, and that's the only place where there's any sort of money, except if you have a drink package. And Rhino was chomping at the bit.
I know. Well, because this was one that like Craig had told me about it ahead of time, and I was just kind of debating whether, I was like, because one of the great things about this cruise is that beer and wine was served during dining hours, so lunchtime.
Included.
Yeah, included for free. And it wasn't terrible selection. It was good. It wasn't just like this or this. It was you had options, and then for only $20 a day. Per person, you could get the drink package, and so I was like, I don't know if I even need it. But honestly, the way we were moving in and around the ship is that you could just have it, grab a drink here, not have to worry about the time, and it was. I mean, we definitely.
Got your money.
Yes, that's how I
A
always say
lot of
it.
people got
I
their
want
money's
to talk
worth.
about the wine at dinner for a minute. It's not like you get a 3-ounce pour and you're done. They couldn't have been more generous with the wine.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And some of the people in our group were told, these are open bottles. Do you want to take them back to your room?
Oh wow.
So, I mean, they're quite generous with what.
Yeah, it was house wine though. You're with some of the nicer wine that you could get once you were on the drink package. If you drink a lot of wine, you can immediately tell the difference. But I know even leading up to getting on the cruise, there was some people in our group who were like, "No, we're in the suites that have alcohol restocked in the room," and I think it was maybe a half an hour on the ship before they all just went, "No, it's $20 a day, so it's only $140 to have this all week, and you basically have 3 drinks, and it's paid for right
Per
away."
person.
Right.
Per person. Now
Per
they
person.
did offer in meals. They would say, "This is what's included. Here's our red. Here's our white. Do you want to go with something that you pay
On
for?"
that note, though, too, what I thought was really cool, he just said it was just red or white, but I went with our friends Donald and they wouldn't do the drink package, or they ended up adding it, but they don't drink a lot. But they had one of the restaurants rotates their theming every night, and they also rotated they paired the wine with the food that
The
you were
chef's
eating
table
there.
did a
So
wine pairing,
yeah,
yeah.
and so even if you didn't have the drink package, they still had specifically paired wines for each food. So it wasn't just like, oh, you don't have it, just red for you tonight. It was like, okay, well, this is your choice for this meal then for that.
Or you could have had the other choice.
And I'm somebody, I don't think I've ever been on a cruise and not gotten the drinking package. So I always get it, and I've never paid less than $60 a day, I would say, like on the low end, just depending, to get anything I want as far as that goes. So, I mean, this is like, 2 days worth of any other cruise line to get your whole
Right.
trip paid for.
That's what
So-
everyone said. Everyone said they found that it was definitely worth it to get the drink package.
Well, and
for
that's
sure.
the big aspect of this is that, you have so much included with these staterooms. And we were talking about the price. already, even without those inclusions. When you add those inclusions in, and you also add in the fact that a basic shore excursion is included with every port. Now, you can pay more for some of the different shore excursions, like you can on any cruise line, but there's a basic shore excursion at every port
Right.
that is included with your stateroom. So when you factor all this together, like I said, just on the price of the stateroom, let's leave all the rest of it aside, it is outstanding, and it stacks up well against the competition. When you add all the rest of this in, you're crazy not to do this cruise.
I thought it was incredible cruise, incredible price. I'm going to jump ahead to food because there's a bunch of other common areas we could talk about, but I think
And it's lunchtime.
we all want to get to sort of, we've been hinting at the food and what the food was like. There's several food options on the ship. Some of them are what they call specialty restaurants. However, on the Viking ship, there's no upcharge for a specialty restaurant. It's all included. Again, factor that into the fact that you have to pay for Palo or Remy on the Disney ship.
And on a Royal Caribbean ship, every specialty restaurant has an upcharge to it.
The only sort of caveat of the specialty restaurants was you had to make reservations. So there were some people who were upset because they couldn't get reservations everywhere.
Viking's website is also very difficult if you have larger than a party of two. However, if you all make reservations, Viking will work and get you all together. It was people had very good luck with that. The other thing is reservations opened up during the week.
Yes.
So if you were closed out of a certain area, you could usually find one later in the week.
Yeah, I mean, we had a group of 6, and I don't think we didn't ever not get the restaurants we wanted. Like, we could go talk to a concierge person or whatever and say, like, can we switch this? Can we do this? And they would spend sometimes like 45 minutes trying to like work things around to make sure. And we had a big group to all be at the same table. So
the sort of the restaurant, I don't want to use this term. I'm afraid to use this term because everything's included, but the regular restaurant is called the restaurant.
If you would call it, if you called something the main dining room, the restaurant is Viking Ocean Cruise's main dining room.
I assume we've all eaten at the restaurant?
Yes.
So let's talk about it. What'd you think?
That was the first night.
Did we?
Yeah, that was the first night.
Yeah, that was the very first night.
Apparently it was the first night. According to them.
I didn't not enjoy it. The food was pretty good. My only problem was with the main restaurant, the restaurant. The very first night, we started to have troubles with my wife's food allergies, and it stemmed from here, and then it was basically a burden for the next 3 or 4 days. But it wasn't. It also was one of those situations where the food in the restaurant, it wasn't. It just didn't compare once we got to Manfredi's.
Right.
So it was. We all thought we were impressed by it the first night, but then after having Manfredi's, and it's like, ooh, it's not quite as good.
There are other options on the ship that I felt were better and easier to do. I mean, there's the World Cafe, which is their buffet.
Which was
Excellent.
We could have eaten in the World Cafe every night.
every night, and let me tell you, we ate there the day of embarkation, the embarkation buffet, which historically on most cruises sucks. This food, I mean, this is your introduction to the food on this cruise. This food was out of this world. Quality, selection, preparation.
Was that the day they had the giant leg of some animal that they were carving? Remember the day where there was a giant piece of meat that they were carving that had the bone in it?
And now I just want to go back to the restaurant. We ate at the restaurant breakfast, lunch, and dinner several times. And I always thought, no one tried to kill me, but I always thought the food was really, really good.
Yeah.
Better than any other cruise line I've ever been on.
Our experiences were, because Sean and I, Rhino and Eli, and Kylie and Craig, we ate together pretty much every night.
Yeah.
So our experience was influenced by the fact that for the first 4 nights, like Craig mentioned, his wife has a serious food allergy. This isn't This is no joke. If she's not served the right thing, or served the wrong thing, This isn't a matter of going to the infirmary. This is a matter of they got to airlift her off the ship and get her to a hospital.
This isn't just like I don't like fish.
Right.
This is
no.
fish
This
can
is
do serious
serious food allergies, which she was extraordinarily clear about at every single point in the experience. Yet, for the first 4 nights, at one point or another during the meal, she was served something she should not have. That was clearly told to them. The problem is the servers are all using iPads to place the orders. They are not going back into the kitchen and directly communicating. So between the iPad and the chefs in the kitchen, this information was not making it through. And it wasn't until, I'm pretty sure it was the 4th night, when I think it was the hotel manager or the food and beverage manager came to our table, and I said to him, you are not going to be happy until you are sued into next week by making this error with someone who has this level of allergy to food. You're not going to be happy until you are sued. And the minute I said that, from that moment forward, there was, every time this girl went anywhere near food, there was the
Police
food and
tape.
beverage manager, the hotel manager was right there to ensure that everything, but that's what it took. So I cannot recommend right now, with that experience, I cannot recommend this cruise to anybody with a serious food allergy.
Yeah, to kind of get back to the restaurant itself, though, and we already mentioned World Cafe. World Cafe served basically the exact same menu
Food.
as the restaurant, but I felt like because it was buffet style, it was going quicker. Honestly, the food felt fresher.
Yeah.
And there was nights where I ate in the restaurant and then went to the buffet after, had the same item, and I was like, oh, it's better up in World Cafe for some reason. So it's just... that's my thing with the restaurant. It was just World Cafe and Manfredi's were doing it so much better.
We've mentioned
Even the pull bar.
Manfredi's a couple times, so let's talk about that. This is one of what they call the specialty restaurant. Again, there is no upcharge to eat here. You just have to make a reservation. Fewer seats than the other restaurants, so it's a limited number of people they can sit.
Right, a little tougher to get, if you didn't already have reservations, a little tougher to get tables
Yep.
in there.
It's because the word of mouth was, holy moly, this is really good.
Yeah.
And this was Italian this was an Italian restaurant, Italian style food. I thought this was the best food on the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This place completely blew us away.
Every day. It was so good.
Agreed, it was so
Every
good.
day.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pictures of the food right now.
No, it's like, oh, do you remember that?
They had this steak on the menu.
Yeah, that was the one I just saw.
I still dream about this steak again. I have not had as good of a steak since I've been back as the one that I had in Manfredi's.
I
It
had
was that
vertical
good.
saltimbocco. Did you see that? Where it was like stacked up really high? No. Oh my God, it was so good.
They had a blue cheese souffle.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them about what happened on that.
They ran out at the end of the ship.
Well,
At the end of the cruise.
one of the first nights we ate there, Kevin had it and said, this is really good. Let's get another one and let's share it with everybody. And that's really good. Let's get another one. So he
Until-
turns to the waiter and he goes, every time you walk through that door, you should come through with one of these souffles.
Don't come back to this table unless you have another one.
Carry one of those souffles every time. Incredible food, delicious, great time.
No question that the caliber of food on this ship is higher than any of the other lines that I've done.
I would
Generally
say,
speaking.
I would say the Italian restaurant, and I think in my opinion, this is a high compliment. Manfredi's could exist on land.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's another restaurant on another cruise ship that would exist away from the cruise ship.
I think Palo would. Especially having just been on it, been on the Dream and Palo.
My
Absolutely.
problem with Palo is it's a 3 or 4 hour commitment.
Yeah, well,
I've-
you'd have to say that that's a special night, a
Right.
special meal.
And I find that a little. I don't enjoy that as much. I think this restaurant would stand on its own. I would go to this restaurant.
I do want to say, with the dining pool grill, you don't ever really think too much of the pool
The pool grill
food
was
section.
unbelievable.
Yeah, they didn't. It wasn't. They did have like hamburgers, hot dogs on the menu, and you had to look past that though because they had like a grilled tuna sandwich
Yeah, that
on
was
it. They
delicious.
had Philly cheesesteaks with fresh ingredients. The specialty burgers they had on there were actually like specialty. They were interesting, unique. They weren't overly burnt. They were actually cooked to like a medium, and they were
cooked to
thick
order.
Oh, so
Yeah.
good.
The staff was phenomenal over there too. They'd come out, they'd ask you how it was, or if you wanted something special, and they didn't have. They'd be, oh no, I'll go get it. And you're like, no, please
Yeah.
don't. You know,
It was kind of like a self-service type of thing. You went up there and ordered, but then they served you at your table.
Yeah.
They brought you more
And there was
stuff.
like a little salad bar that had like
Salad
a couple of
bar.
salads and condiments and things on it. The burger, I had a avocado burger, maybe one of the best burgers I've ever had.
Yeah, we did run into one issue in regards to dining that it didn't end up being a problem, but because this cruise does typically cater to an older crowd, after 9 o'clock, your food options are only room service.
Yeah.
And the room service was excellent. It was really, really good. Some normal burger items and then things from the actual restaurant. But at 9 o'clock, they stop seating, and that means you are not getting in.
Even
and,
the other things too. There's no pool grill is closed.
Yeah.
There's another place called Mumson's, and they served Scandinavian sandwiches and fish.
A lot of raw
and-
fish.
A lot of raw fish and
Cake. Raw
cakes.
fish and cake.
The cakes are really good. The
And
pies are really
waffles.
good.
they did have waffles. Yeah, that was good.
I would like to say that different than other cruises, there is not a lot of nightlife on this cruise. Food or nightlife. But you're port intensive in this cruise, and those days start early.
There literally is a port every day. There's no sea day on this cruise. You're
That's
in a
what
port every day.
these cruises are about. It was the same thing for the river cruises.
And I will say for nightlife
Port
also, I mean, but we got there well enough early that we kind of got used to the time difference. And I ran into this in going to Hawaii earlier this year. But like if you were going over to Italy, your time is so thrown off that I don't know how much nightlife you would really be doing, because like you need to if you don't
Adjusting to
have
the jet lag.
And
right
the
if you don't
daytime,
have a lot of
your days are active.
right yeah
It's a different kind of cruise. The only other thing I want to talk about when it comes to food, I want to talk real quick about the chef's table. This was the name of the restaurant. It wasn't a specific table in a restaurant that you could go to. And this was their wine pairing and specialty.
Pretentious crap restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
It was really, really
terrible.
pretentious.
I didn't talk
wasn't
to
very
anybody
good.
that had a good experience.
No, it wasn't very good.
Yeah. And again,
Everything was liquid in this. This was the liquid one, right? Yeah.
We went, and every
Looking
night
at
had a
the photo.
three theme. I think our theme was Greece, and I didn't have to chew any of the 4 courses. Everything was either a pudding or a foam.
foam.
Yeah.
There was a lot of foam. So again, this was, in my opinion, this was the only place that I didn't enjoy was the chef's table. There's another area called the Winter Garden. That's where they have high tea.
I did the high tea service. That was really cool.
It was lovely.
Because they bring out the like tray and they had like little sandwiches and pastries.
Did Craig
on
wear
it
his little
with
white
the
dress?
tea. He did. He had his parasol. It was very nice. He was very pretty.
I loved it. Unfortunately, because of how active we were, there was only one day that I got to do it. But all the little sandwiches and desserts they brought out were excellent. The tea was just wonderful, and they had a cello player in there, and I believe a violinist to help build the atmosphere. It was very popular. You had to get there early for a table.
There's a lot of talk about there's not a lot to do because there's no casino. There's a lot to do. There's stuff we didn't get to do. I wanted to do this. I know our throats
So
are
sorry.
talking too much.
My throat is going dry.
There was a great deal of stuff that we didn't get a chance to do. This was one of them specifically. Let's talk a little bit about what there is to do, the entertainment that they have on the ship. This is not your typical cruise line. There is not big shows and big productions. They do have guest lecturers. When you get to some locations, they'll have someone come on the ship who'll tell you historically about where you're going to go and what you're going to see. A lot of port talks to prep you for the day ahead.
And I got to throw in with that because, I mean, I looked at the itinerary before we left, and this cruise overall, just on paper, is not something that would interest me at all because it looked like there was not a lot to do as far as the ship went, and I'm a nightlife person. I am not like the biggest relax person on vacation. I need activity all the time, and it wasn't like that at all. I mean, there were so many things I didn't even get to do because we were so busy. So just looking at the website or just looking at the thing and being like, oh, there's not like shows or anything like that I'm used to, it really doesn't come into play at all.
You gotta switch your mentality. This is not a Royal Caribbean cruise. It's just not that.
There were shows on the ship.
There were shows.
However, on our cruise, many of them changed. And I found out that's because 2 of the entertainers became ill. So they had to switch to different things.
They had one night opera singers came out, and there was local folk dancing one night, things like that. One of the big things you could do at night was movie under the skies on the pool deck.
And they give you, I learned this because I went into this room yelling by accident, and it was, they give you Bose noise canceling headphones. So when you're sitting in the pool room, it doesn't matter if there are people out there enjoying a drink or something like that. Because I didn't realize where I had walked in, and I turned around to yell at somebody behind me, and I was like, oh, God, nobody heard me.
There are shopping talks. One of the things that is lacking on this ship that you will find on other ships is there's really no shopping.
There are 3 shops.
The tiny, tiny shops.
There's expensive jewelry, there's mid-price jewelry, and then there's tchotchkes. And that means a lot of Helly Hansen Scandinavian clothing. And
or gnomes. You could buy gnomes for your gnome collection.
even though you were in Italy. And it was pricey.
Yeah, it was pricey, but I mean, the quality of the Helly Hansen stuff, like, I was actually really impressed. If it was not for the fact that, like, I didn't need a winter coat and I never use winter gear really down in Florida, like, I would have considered even getting something with Viking on it. It was high quality stuff.
Again, a great cruise. I enjoyed it. I thought it was terrific. Let's give sort of our last impressions of, what you want to talk about, what you want
Oh, wait, I want to talk about one cool thing that we didn't
Okay.
talk about, though,
Anything we
because,
didn't cover?
the spa, there was the pool up top.
Spa
There
was
was
cool.
2 pools on deck, because there was one that was in, like, the base of the ship down where the spa and the gym was, and what was really interesting is there's a room that snows in there. And so you have a room that's like the steam room, and you go from the steam room and you run into the snow room real quick, and you sit there for a few
I
seconds.
have a couple
and you
pictures
run
of
out.
that.
That's very
Yeah.
Scandinavian.
It was just, I don't know, it was just one of the coolest
The
things.
spa
I
itself
thought.
was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was a nice spa, and I thought the pricing was reasonable compared to most cruise line spas. Not as large as
Right.
a lot of cruise line spas, but the services were good.
But again, there's not as much downtime on this cruise. On a regular cruise where you've got a sea day or something,
Right.
that's a perfect time to go for a spa appointment.
Precisely.
Because every day was a port. There's just not as much.
Right.
I'll also say the gym on this cruise was really, really nice. It was it opened at 6 a.m. and so it was enough that you could go work out.
What time were
before.
you there?
Sometimes at like 5:45.
Okay, see, I was there later. Never
Oh,
mind.
okay.
That's why we didn't see each other.
So it's like, I mean, there were tons of cardio equipment, but also there was 2 whole rooms just devoted to like free weights and, yoga mats and that kind of thing, which is hard to, whether you're like going in hotels or whatever, it's always just cardio equipment. But they did have free weights. They had, huge areas of space to do
Did you
full
find it
body
weird that it
workouts.
was a giant glass box? Because I went to take pictures in the spa and I thought it was very, very open.
It was
Yeah.
very
I
open.
thought that was
yeah.
kind of strange.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts you want to say about the cruise? Anything that we didn't cover?
I want to go back.
Yeah, I just do so bad.
I just Eli, my partner, has worked for years he's a sign language interpreter, and he's been on every cruise line there is, including tons of Disney ones and all these things. And this was his first experience with Viking, and he was like, this will be the number 1 choice for him, is what he said. And I think that's a big deal because he loves Disney. But like the price point versus, when you get sometimes in life, you want there to only be people that are 16 and older around. I'm not against families being able to do
No,
that
but
stuff, but
there's times,
sometimes you
right.
want that when you really want to relax. Like this one, I was like, even though we were working, we had the full days. There's no way you could resist that relaxation feeling on that ship.
I would like to talk about the fact that for me to do a Viking Ocean cruise, I would have to be interested in the ports of call. Having been to the Caribbean several times, I don't find Caribbean islands all that exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't snorkel. I don't parasail. I don't drink. I don't need tablecloths. I don't want to go on a booze cruise.
So it
And if
means
I
being
take John
on
to the
ship.
beach,
Yeah.
he starts to sizzle like bacon.
I
So to
don't
me, when
tan,
I go to the
stroke.
So when we go to the Caribbean, the ship is the destination. I would not find that there was enough to do if I wasn't getting off the ship every day and enjoying the port of call.
Fully agree.
I would want to be on one of the mega ships that has nighttime shows and a casino and a shopping area and several different restaurants.
However, I
I
did
need that
mention-
level of
I
entertainment.
didn't mention that there is an ocean cruise that goes to Cuba. So I was thinking about that one. I thought that might be a lot of fun to go someplace you've never been before. Craig, final thoughts.
just was absorbed in the luxury, so it was a great way of getting around Italy. Again, the entertainment in the televisions in the room, that won me over a lot, because I like to spend a lot of time in my room on cruises and just relax in there. So I loved spending time in the stateroom, but I loved all the common areas, and the food that we already mentioned was just the highlights. Those were excellent. I was very blown away by it. So it's going to last with me for a long time, and it's any cruise I do from now on is going to go up against this one when I'm judging it, and it has a lot to live up to.
It's a benchmark.
Yeah.
Sean, final thoughts?
I would say I would actually compare it in the same way as, like, because we're all so close with Disney World and most of the listeners can understand that. This cruise is so much about the ports, and that really is the big draw of it. But for me, it's the equivalent of having a meal at California Grill at Disney versus having one at Tony's Town Square. They're both in like prime location and all that, but California Grill is an amazing restaurant, and it doesn't have to be. It would still be packed just because of location, whereas this cruise doesn't have to be the level of quality that it is, and people would still go on it because of the price and because of the ports and all that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, and lucky for us, like, they did make it a really amazing ship, and they made it an amazing cruise and stuff, that while you're going for the ports, you also have an amazing floating hotel to be on that's top notch. So
we should say that all of the travel publications have rated Viking Ocean Cruises to be the number one cruise line.
Then they
Now,
deserve
it is a very different experience than a Viking River cruise. They are night and day.
Yeah.
There are similar things, but they are very different.
They are, for sure. I want to end by saying we at Dreams Unlimited Travel, we do book Viking cruises. I know that's always a question. Are you booking what you're talking about? Viking River and Viking Ocean. You also get a shipboard credit from Dreams Unlimited Travel if you book through us. And also, we are sending our gift bags to all of our cruise clients at the moment who live in the U.S. and Canada. No extra charge. All part of our service at Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thank you guys very much for being here, for joining me in the conversation. I really enjoyed it. I liked reliving our cruise very much. Thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.